Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Right now, and so we can go and repeat it wherever we are.
Okay. We are live. I like to say that.
We are live now.
It seems to be my, yeah. So I'm going to go share it as well.
I just shared it. And recording.
Oh, Deborah,
Ready to
somehow
record?
I didn't look up the right thing. No, here we go. I'm going to now forward us. I'm sure everybody's like so excited that we're just taking this time. Okay, I'll just fill in and say hello. Hi, everybody.
She's going to put it on recording and then we're going to get going.
Oh, you got it?
No, you have to record.
Oh, I thought you were co-hosting. Sorry. How do you like my new glasses?
I love
Nice.
them. I have my adult glasses on today.
Awesome.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Hi, Facebook. Yay.
To the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Oh, we're so excited to have an awesome guest here today. As you know, well, we'll get there soon, but I have something very special for everybody. It's a fish joke, which we do every week. And so we always throw it to our guest, Debbie, to guess. There's no shame in not knowing the answer, but we always throw it to them for that. Wait, hold on one second. I got it right here.
Ooh,
You look
patience.
gorgeous today, Deborah.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Deborah.
Why did the two fish have to take it outside?
Take it outside.
Because they were fishing around.
Close. They were about to have a row.
Oh, nice.
That's like Cannery Row in San Francisco, where all the fish get squished.
I love Cannery Row. Yes, yes.
And where they have Ghirardelli chocolate. So I
Oh my
always,
God.
I just park and I go straight up to Ghirardelli chocolate, and then I go hang out and go get like some, fish chowder in a little bread bowl. Have you guys ever done that?
Yes, I've been there many times. I love it.
I've been there many times. Maybe we ran into each other.
Wouldn't that be interesting if like we had photos where we had pictures of each other in each other's lives and didn't even know it?
I know
Yeah.
it. That'd be great. Well,
Yeah.
Today we're so excited for our guest, Debbie Straley, and Dr. Trish Sanders is going to introduce her. So we just wanted to say welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for joining us. It's going to be a great time. Dr. Trish, over to you.
I am incredibly honored to have Debbie be among us today. So for those of you who don't know us very well, these are 4 spiritual goddesses. I mean, you guys want us on the planet because we do so much good work, and much more to come. But Debbie and I, it's a funny checkered past because I followed her for years and years on Facebook, and we would talk on Facebook because so many of the posts that she had were right in alignment with something that was going on with me at that moment, or something I said on Facebook spiritually. And I knew we were kindred spirits, but you know how it is on Facebook. You have 4,000 friends that you don't really know anything about. And so you don't, a lot of times you don't get that close to people on Facebook unless you're looking for a date, I guess. But anyway, with Debbie, I just adored her. And then lo and behold, I got involved with Jack Canfield on his team at Young Living and started really learning about the power of plant medicine and origins of of plant medicine and how it heals and all of that. And one day I find out that Debbie is on my team because someone under my team sponsored Debbie. And I'm like, this can't be the same Debbie, that we've been talking all these years back and forth. And lo and behold, yes, it is. It is her. and so when we very first started realizing that we actually had known each other for years through Facebook, and that now she's part of my Young Living team, we decided to start to get to know each other, and we started calling each other. And I swear it's kind of like you guys, we just needed each other. Every time we would call it exactly right. And bizarre times, like one time she had to go to the dentist and I got her right when she sat in the chair, and yeah, it's just strange stuff. And so she has a tribe around her that is amazing. It blows people away because Debbie has been working in this realm of being an angel on the planet in every way, shape, or form. And she has a tribe that depends on what she has to say. And so she asked me to hold this full moon goddess call one day. And it happened to be like 2 days that I had just moved to California. And so we said, well, maybe I should go down to the beach. I didn't even know where the beach was. Like, I knew it was over there somewhere, but it all worked. The internet stayed up. We got to do this talk, and she had a zillion people on that call, but it was powerful for me, for her. I mean, I can see myself there now. So Debbie's an amazing person. I think today's going to be an amazing interview, and we'll get to know a lot more. I'm going to get to know a lot more about you, because I don't think we've ever just listened to you. So Debbie had a near-death experience that was transformative, and I'll let her explain it. And she has children. She's just one of those all-around incredible women who do everything and everything for everybody else. But I'm looking forward. The four of us are going to do many, many retreats together, I'm sure. And so Debbie, tell us about what happened with the near-death experience, and then expand on that.
Okay.
And welcome to our CodPast.
All of you for inviting me to this beautiful platform, first and foremost. And that was a very kind, loving opening for me. And thank you, Dr. Trish. I mean, truly, there's people in life that you meet that are so divine setup, is what I call it. And Trish has definitely been one of them, and these lovely ladies also. So before I go into my near-death experience, I want to talk a little bit about the setting. I was just a baby. My mother was giving birth, and all of a sudden, the very thing that gives us life force energy, which is the umbilical cord, was the thing that was wrapped around my neck and taking me out of this life. So I felt like that was kind of ironic, that the thing that keeps us sustained is the thing that was taking me out. When I had left the planet, I went to home, heaven, and I don't know how to describe this other than my soul remembered, because there's no way a child can remember, usually logically, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But as I got older, then I could relay the story that I experienced from this planet to the next. Now, I had just come from home, and so I was only in the womb for a while and then left again. And I was given the opportunity to choose to stay or choose to continue Earth experience. And I did choose to come back. I was black and blue, and they revived me. And they don't know how long I was gone. So I've asked people in their life, and I'm going to ask you ladies, do you know somebody who's had a near-death experience?
Yes.
Well, I mean, my dad had a heart attack and talked about him seeing all of us in the room, and they had pronounced him gone. And you know, my dad was pretty down to earth. He was career Air Force, and he explained where we all were. I was out in the hallway, and you know, so he had this whole scene. And when he had that, my dad had 11 heart attacks, and when he had that first one, he was only 42, and it gave him great comfort and it gave the rest of us comfort because we knew somehow we're going to be together even if he does pass, you know.
Mhm. So if you've met somebody with a near-death experience like you had just described, they sometimes bring a little bit of home back with them. And in my experience, for me, I was able to see the angelic realm and also the dark forces. And I didn't have a switch to say, I only want to see this part of seeing. It was given all to me. So you can imagine, as a little girl, I was terrified at night to go to sleep and they would shapeshift into anything that could scare a little girl. And so I would go down into my mom's room. My heartbeat was going so fast and I was so afraid. And she said to her girlfriends, do you know how you can help somebody who has these night terrors? And they said, well, isn't that the same little girl that has those pretend friends that she brings to the table at dinner time? And she said, yes. And she goes, they said, well, there is a hospital up the street that could give her some medicine and then she could no longer have these experiences. And thank goodness my mother didn't take me to the hospital, and she instead prayed. And when she prayed, she came up to my room. And previously, before this, she would open the closet or lift up the blankets under the bedding and say, see, there's no such things as the boogeyman. And I would look at her and my sister and wonder why they couldn't see these things. And wondered why I was different than them. So we continued to have this interaction. And this one time she came up and she goes, is the bad guy in the room? So this was different because now she was acknowledging it. I said, yes, it is. And she says, I want you to rub your hands together like this, like what Trish was doing. And then I want you to create what is a light bulb and start forming this light bulb. And once you get this light bulb in formation, then I want you to send it to the bad guy. So I had it just like this, and I could see it, and I looked up at her and wondered if she could see it. And I could tell she couldn't see it, but she believed now what I was doing. And she goes, send it to the bad guy. So I went like this, and I took one of those memory pictures that you take sometimes of my hands, and I could see my little itty bitty hands. They were like 3 or 4 years old. And I sent that light bulb to the bad guy. And he was the worst one. He was taunting me all the time and said, you're going to send a white ball of light, making fun of me. And when it hit him, he froze. And what I know now versus then is that the contrast of this little girl with light force energy coming through her, making this form of ball of light, was the opposite contrast that he was living in. So when the ball of light hit him, he froze, and then I sent another one, and it got halfway into the room before it hit him, and he hightailed it out of the room, and then he never bothered me again. So I was able to have my power back. But I told every single person in the world that would listen to me about this white ball of light. So I told all of my schoolmates when I got older, everybody in the neighborhood. And my mother finally sat me down and she said, "Oh, honey, let's keep these experiences between me and you, and we can tell each other." But I didn't know the difference between her standing there and somebody next to her. So as a child, I'd say, "Do you want to play with us?" And they would say, "Yes," or "Who's us?" What I know is that we've all been able to see. And there's a certain age, and it's not a definite age, but there's a certain age where children, I call it, they lost their Peter Pan, their Wendy, their Never Never Land. And you'll notice that when there's a baby in front of you and you're attempting to make it laugh or do something, and it looks to the left or right of you, and you're trying to say, "No, I'm right here," they're laughing with our ancestors, and they're having a good old time with them. And sometimes the toddler will point the finger and say, "Grandpa," and you'll point to Grandpa's picture that he died 2 years ago, and you say "Grandpa" at the picture, and the toddler still says "Grandpa." So it's not just people who have near-death experiences. And then some people call that a veil or a remembrance taken away from them. But for me, mine never went away. So still to this day, I help children with night terrors, and I teach them the white ball of light. And parents will send their children to me, and it's usually one time, and then they no longer have to come see me. So that is one of the stories that I've been able to assist people with. But there's many more, so I'm going to go through a couple more if you don't mind. My mother, she had 10 children, and I was 6th of 10. Right. She was a busy lady. And she was cooking one day, and I was a why child. You know, those people that ask why on everything and don't know how to get them out of your space. Well, in her loving way, she said, "Honey, why don't you go tell your angel friends?" Because remember, before she wasn't acknowledging them, and now she's telling me to talk to them. And I'm like, what a great idea. I'm going to go talk to them. So I went about playing, and she said, "Wait, what did they tell you?" And I said this big, profound, "There's no way that a little child could know that answer." And she started to cry, and she started to say these words that I didn't know what they meant at the time of as a child. She said, "I don't know how to raise you." And as I got older, she continued to say that, and now I get it more. But what she taught in that moment, in that profound moment, was that I can talk to the angelic realm anytime I would like to. And I had heard stories that in the past that these people from way long ago did converse with angels. And I didn't hear it much nowadays. The only thing I really heard was, "Wow, I'm so glad that the angels were there in that car accident because now we're alive."
Mm-hmm.
But the more I would ask, they would say, "No, I didn't see them. No, I didn't hear them." It was just a saying, I guess. So, and then those who would say, "Yeah, I saw angels," then they were told, "Don't tell anyone that. That's sacred, or that's only for you to know." So being the why child that I was, I asked people that. And I think that's one of the pivotal things, is that we can, even though we're on a planet of free will and choice, we can ask. Could you imagine being an angel on the edge of your chair all the time going, "I know who you are, I know your past, I know your present, and I know your future. And I've got this. If you just call me in the game, I could assist you on this very thing. So I start telling people this. They converse with me all the time, and they said, will you share this with other people? Because all of us have guides or guardian angels that are surrounding us, and they're our light team, is what I call them. And they are there specifically for each one of us. And they're there to assist us along our journey. So they're bound unless we ask. So we do have to ask. So that was a huge moment for me in my life, because now I was being taught by the angelic realm. The other story I share is that a bird flew, and we had sliding glass doors. And so it didn't know that it couldn't fly through the window, but it did anyway. It went flying as hard as it could, and bam, hit the window and broke its neck, and it was dead. So as the little girl, I ran towards the bird, and I'm hearing my mother in the background, honey, don't touch the bird. But I'm asking, because now I can ask, how do I heal the bird? And they started to tell me. So I picked up the bird, and its neck wobbled around. I put my hands over the bird, and that same warm honey sensation from home, that peace, that joy, came flooding through me towards the bird. It was the same energy I felt when I had died. And my mother got to me, and she grabbed my arm, and I opened my hands just like this, and the bird flew out of my hands. There is no way that that could happen. My mother was just again in that state of being. How do I raise you? She said as she's crying. But I learned an important lesson that day, and I didn't understand it till I was older. I never asked the bird, do you want to be alive? And I never went up and said, can I heal the bird? I just did it, because as little kids, we can do anything. There's only possibilities, no limitations. And it's the adults in our life that tells us, you can't do that. You're not allowed, and puts those conditionings on us. And then somebody said, because Reiki can find you. So let me take a quick drink.
Thank you.
My roommate met me at the door, and I was bringing in the groceries. She practically knocked me over, and she goes, can I practice Reiki on you? And I said, Reiki what? I had never even heard the word in 2003 when she did this. And she goes, Reiki, it's a Japanese healing art. You can heal the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual through this universal life force energy. And I said, okay, I'm open. So I laid down. She didn't have a table. She had just learned it. I laid down on the couch. She put her hands just above my eyes, just like this. And all of a sudden, I felt that warm honey again, that universal life force energy coming through me. And I grabbed her hands and I said, where do I learn this? And I was in the class back to back to back, but I was also in banking. And so I had the gift of knowing when people were doing fraud or anything like that. And I would try to help them change their ways. And sometimes I could. But I would eventually tell that we got to fix this. But they knew something was different with me because they didn't have the math figures. I just knew. So I did end up taking Reiki back to back to back. And somebody said to me, they said, well, why, if you were a natural born healer, why would you do Reiki? Well, I was using my will on the bird, so I was drained energetically, healing the bird. And with Reiki, it's like a laser beam of light coming through me, and it's an open vessel and reed. So I'm not giving them my human energy, and I'm not picking up on theirs. It's a pure channel through. So that's how I found Reiki. But one last story, and then we can have conversations. I was in the grocery store just coming through the entrance, and a lady met me at the entrance, and she had passed away. And she had said, "Will you please talk to my daughter for me?" And I said, "No, I don't like to interrupt people's everyday life. No, can you just talk to her?" She goes, "I've tried. She fills me, but she doesn't know what I'm saying." And I didn't believe in the banks. So I told the kids I would hide the money in the house. And I thought I was going to have one of those deaths where you gather around the table or the bed and say goodbye, and then I would tell them where the money was. Well, I died instantly, so that didn't happen. And my children sold the house. And so everyone's moving in at the end of this week. Can you just tell her where the money is? I'm like, okay, this is a different scenario. So, but now I go up and ask, is it okay? Is this for the highest good for everybody involved for me to give this information? And I got a yes. So I went up to the daughter and I said, "I know that you don't know me, but your mother is here with me right now." And she said she didn't believe in the banks, and she hid the money in your house, and you've been looking for it, and you sold the house. And her face, she looked to the right and left real fast, and then honed in and looked at me. And I have to tell these stories with bullet points of facts instantly, because I could be some weirdo making up these stories, right? And so the daughter started to cry, which they usually do. And I said, "I don't know how your mother got up there, because she's this little itty bitty thing." And she went up in the attic and hid the money. And so I never heard from this person because we didn't exchange numbers, but the mother came back to me and told me that they received the money. So those are some of the stories, how my mother was instrumental, maybe some of the times not even knowing she was. She may have been just trying to shoo me out of the kitchen when she was cooking. But those are some of the pivotal moments. And I've been helping people since. I usually do it on the umbrella of Reiki, but I'm a life coach too, and a Tibetan bowl master too. I use sound healing, and so I have lots of different ways of assisting people. But my purpose on this planet is to assist humanity and also Mother Earth. And there's nothing greater for me to create this platform that I have, which is Goddess Full Moon Gathering, where we have speakers come and talk, and people come into the space and we get together with community. And sometimes we do that through retreats. And so I'm just going to say it as easy it is that God uses me to assist people to find their talents, gifts, and abilities, and then they get to soar. They already have them within them. And we all have our own answers inside. I just ask the questions that they may have not asked themselves. A lot of time, my Reiki sessions, I will introduce them to their higher self, their spirit self. And then I just listen to their spirit self, their higher self, and they tell me what they need. So it's very unique and different. So I'm going to open it up if you want me to talk maybe some specifics of my most profound healing moments. I could tell about the lady with stage 4 cancer, or if you want to interact.
I have a question.
I do want to acknowledge you, Debbie, and it's such an honor. I mean, all four of us have very similar missions, and we've developed several of the similar kind of, you know, life purpose, life experiences. Both Laura and I have taken a lot of Reiki. I took Reiki back when people didn't know how to pronounce it. So when I first started doing yoga, everybody thought it was yogurt. And when I first started doing Reiki, they thought I was Reikiing something. So, you know, nowadays it's a little different. What Laura learned in Reiki, I didn't learn because it, you know, wasn't that progressed at that time. But one of the things I want to ask you a little bit about, in something that Laura and I experienced together a year ago, we love taking classes. All three of us love taking classes. We have certifications in pretty much everything but brain surgery, and probably Deborah will be first to get that one. But one of the things that was told to us last year, we took a class in Casadega, right? Casadega, Florida. And Laura is always making us go on these crazy field trips. And she found a place that was the oldest spiritual camp in the United States. And we didn't know what that meant. You know, what's Casadega? What's a spiritualist camp? And it was quite fascinating. And it had a history. It wasn't even an incorporated town. It's literally a camp. It's like a place. And a lot of very highly evolved people live there. But like any place like Sedona or Glastonbury, you know, you've got the weirdos that come because they're playing with people. And then you've got the real people that are there that are just literally amazing. Well, this man was a channeler, and he talked about how normal it was and how it was part of the Bible and part of every religion, and that we've been told not to believe it. Something profound happened, and for me it's amazing because it's only a year old, and I've been in spiritual work since I was a little kid. You know, I started teaching yoga at 17, and before that I had a lot of different things happen. Anyway, he said, you probably have 1,000 people around you, and I call them people because they're just entities that are trying to help you. But you guys spend your whole life going, no, that can't be true, or, well, wait a minute, why did I think that, or whatever. And he said, stop doing that. Stop questioning these poor people trying to help you. You know, you might have ETs, you might have fairies, you might have angels, you might have ancestors. And we believe, and I know, Debbie, you and I have talked about, that all of us are healing ancestral wounds right now. So we're healing ancestral wounds for the planet, and we're healing people that have had tough situations to come through. He just said to give constant praise and thanks to all those helping us, and that the more we acknowledge them, the more help they can give us. Now, could you give a perspective on that experience, and whether or not it resonates with you, it doesn't resonate with you, compares to you, whatever?
So the question is,
do you think there are thousands of entities helping us? Number one. Number two, do you know that they're telling, you know, do you know you're on the right path when they're talking to you, and shouldn't second guess it?
that's a really good question. Yes, there are multiple entities out there that are assisting people, and then there are the ones that are not. So entities, the angelic ones are one, and then the dark forces one are another. And so it's important to know who's talking to you and who's sharing the information, because sometimes it's not the angelic ones. Everybody has guides and guardians specifically, and those guides and guardians are with you from the beginning. And they have the same specialties like a doctor or a nurse, Could be specialties for a family physician, a surgeon, or working with the babies. The angelic realm have specialties also, and they are specifically assigned to each one of us, and they assist us with our own specialties, because if they're your guides and guardians, they know your talents, gifts, and abilities, because their specific ability is to teach you how to use those. So yes, they are absolutely all over assisting us, but they are bound unless we ask. So what I do every morning is I say angels up, and they know that that means let's get active, and you have my permission to do so. Because I can't always say this big long thing every morning and every time. And I also do ask in the evening if they will come with me into the dream world and protect my body. Somebody stays behind and then go with me on the freeway of heaven, on the freeway of learning, on the freeway, because people will talk about astral travel, but that also invites both the dark forces and the light ones. So I like to go on the highway of light at night when I dream. So, and I can expand more on more things that I can tell you about myself and maybe some experiences.
I have a question for you. A couple questions, Debbie. You're fascinating information. Is there a possibility of having a near-death experience, but not knowing that you did? I mean, I nearly died once, actually maybe twice. One time I saw myself, and another time I was almost gone. But I don't remember, going to the light or anything like that. So I'm just wondering if maybe studying it or going back into the experience would maybe have I blocked some of it out. That was one of my questions. And the other thing was, I can do astral travel, and I'm careful about it because of the darkness. And I wondered if you'd expand on that a little bit. So it's two different questions, really.
But also, Deborah, I think it's important that Debbie understands too that Deborah is the only person, and I have worked with many, many churches and many higher up people in churches for a lot of reasons. But Deborah is the only one I've ever known who could speak in tongues. And when I heard her, I knew what it was because I'd been privileged to hear other people, but I'd never met anyone. And it was very interesting when I heard her pray, because one of the people around us is of the Havasupai tribe, which is the bottom of the Grand Canyon, and he's at least 5th generation medicine man. He's probably one of the most highly evolved spiritual people I've ever known. And his language has never been written down. So the Havasupai tribe is only 250 people. And it's a very small group of people that understand the language. And when he prays, it sounds like Deborah's light language. And so I wonder if that had something to do with you dying, Deborah. I don't know. I'm just giving Debbie context.
Well, that is a very good question. And I have met several people who've had a near-death experience, but don't have a remembrance of it. But they did say that they did come back different than what they were before. And others gave them feedback. So if that was you, like Trish said, with the tongues, if you didn't have that prior and then you do, then that could be part of it. I wouldn't so much feel bad that you don't remember. Not everybody does. I did read a lot of near-death experiences and listen to some of their experiences. And some of them were different than mine and some were similar. There must be a reason why you are not supposed to remember. For me, I think the reason would be that as soon as you know what home feels like, you just want to be there. And it's hard
I
to be.
love that you say the warm honey of home. I love it because I believe in heaven 1,000,000%. And that's I love that when you say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we need to be earth angels here on earth.
Mhm.
And so if we're always wanting to go home, then we're not present here. So that could be the reason for you. But you could ask just like I do, why is it that I don't remember? And is this the reason I'm not remembering? And get clear on what it would be for you. So you asked 2 questions. That was the first one. What was the second one?
Just the with astral projection, the positive and the negatives of that, and how to protect yourself when you go out there from falling into the hands of the darkness.
So what I mean, everybody has, well, I shouldn't say everybody, some people don't dream, but most people do. And sometimes that's just clearing stuff for us. Other times we can get visions or information or things like that. So I always just ask if the angels would protect my body, one of them left behind, and then the others would guide me either to trainings or to get the information, and that I would be protected, that they would guide me on the highway of light is what I call it. And then they just make sure I'm not in the places that I don't want to be, because I asked them to help protect me.
Thanks.
That actually then leads into my question, Debbie. How do you know that whatever voice is happening is the white light versus the dark night? How can you tell the difference? How can you discern? Because I'm sure that the dark can be very deceptive and it feels right and light, but maybe it's not. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I kind of opened the gate for that one too when I said it depends on who's talking to you. I have had people say that the angelic realm came and told them to do something. You've heard these stories, but they can shapeshift into anyone too. Our loved ones are, and give instructions, and they are tricky in that way too. So the dark forces don't know what love is. So I usually ask a love question because they can't answer it.
Oh,
That's really good. I like that. So just ask, what would love do?
Yeah, and if they answer it, one, you can feel it too. We all have different clairs, is what I call it, where spirit will speak through us through either seeing, feeling, hearing, or knowing, and sometimes clairolfactory, which is smelling. So some people will say to me, well, I can't see them, but we all have these kinds of gifts. So I just assist people in finding out which one is theirs.
Yeah, I'm claircognizant, but I've become more clairaudient. I've gotten a lot of clairaudience, which is kind of cool. Yeah, that's really cool because when I hear it, I don't question it anymore. Because then it's a knowing. Okay, I hear you. And if I could just tell a quick story about me, when I became Reiki certified, I just think this is odd. So, because I always look for symbols, a hawk showed up before my first Reiki thing. And I was like, I was really curious in my neighborhood because I live just outside of Washington, D.C. So it's a suburb. So a hawk sitting on a house across the street is not usual. And so I kind of felt like it was saying something to me. Then I got Reiki 1 certified, and right after that, I had a small issue with a raccoon in my attic that became a big issue. And then Reiki 2, I got certified, and then a flood hit my house. And then Reiki 3, and then Master. It was like I was almost afraid to do the master, but I did it, and a disaster did happen. I mean, I did it. But is there something where as we get lighter and more wise or sage or whatever you want to say, the forces come after us even more? Is that a thing?
Thank you. That's a beautiful question, because I'm sure people are like, I'll just be a normie right now because I don't want to be attacked. But truly, we already are those beings anyway. And so we are going to fulfill our journey regardless or not. Being on a spiritual pathway of enlightenment will only, fear is lack of information. And the more information that you have, the more you can, just like me as a little girl, I was in fear of these entities shape-shifting into anything. And then I had the information how to protect myself. And now I'm no longer afraid of them. In fact, I love them through their process too, and send them to the light. And most of them are just stuck here anyway and don't really know what's happening.
That's
Debbie,
great. Thank you so much, Debbie.
I have a question that you and I have discussed several times, and I think all four of us, at least here, can benefit from your answer, and probably the throngs of people that are going to watch this today and after today. You know, how do we discipline ourselves to have boundaries of over healing people that we think need to be healed if they don't want to be, or if they're not participating in that or whatever? You know, I've opened schools all over the world. I mean, people, one of my friends bought an actual painting of Mother Teresa because she wanted to tell me that I was like a Mother Teresa, which I'm not that nice, you know, but the thing is that I always believe that everybody has love inside of them, and that you can love it out. And then lately, Laura and I had a discussion about maybe not everybody is a human, maybe not everybody does have that love inside of them, because maybe they're not really human, maybe they aren't from God. But my issue, and it's almost a daily issue, is going beyond where I should go with someone who doesn't want to go there. And they act like they want me to keep helping them. And so I keep getting sucked into helping them more and more. It's a little bit like a codependent, you know, why do you feel like you have to go help these people that are miserable when 10 people over here who aren't miserable but also want your help or, you know, would like for you to come over there? So how do you set those boundaries up, or do you?
Yes, so I teach Reiki also, and it goes back to Dr. Usui, who was the founder. But when I teach Reiki, it says Reiki was rediscovered. So somebody else had Reiki before Dr. Usui. And it says that it was rediscovered, so it's been going on for some time. But when he came from the mountain and came to the people, he healed the beggars, is what he called, for 7 years. He went amongst the beggars and healed them. And then he found that they went back to doing the same thing they were doing before. So he learned a valuable lesson that they have to want it, they have to will it, they have to be a part of it. So he decided from that moment on, he went into the cities with a torch lit in broad daylight, and people would come to the torch that would feel almost like the call. Reiki does find people, and it plants a seed, and some people are ready instantly, and some it takes years, and some it's not, nobody wants it. Some people don't want it. And I just have to honor everybody's path and where they're at. And and just listen and be there as support, but I get those boundaries. I like results. So in my practice, if I'm not seeing it and I'm seeing just the codependency that you were talking about, then I usually cut it off. If they're not doing the homework or then I say, I'm not the person for you. There's somebody that would absolutely take your money and enjoy listening to you and not seeing the results, but that's not me.
Nice
That's
boundary.
really good. I
That's
was
really good. Say, well, I'm not seeing the results, so I'm obviously not the right person. That's really good.
and
That's
Trish,
a
you're
good, that's good for all relationships when you think about it, right?
boy, yeah.
Right.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
think all
That
of
is the
the row of the day,
row of the day.
because all four of us are results driven. None of us are slackers, and we really like at the end of the day to be better than we were when we woke up that morning. And of course, we want that for everybody else as well. So I really like that, Debbie, because you don't want to give up on somebody, but you know, sometimes if it's dragging you down, you've got to cut that anchor because it's dragging you down. Both of you are not soaring, because a lot of this, rather than codependency, is co-learning and co-creating and co-growing. Even though you're the coach, it doesn't mean that you're not learning from them. That's the beauty of the universe.
Truly, absolutely. Every single class, every single session, I'm constantly learning. And I tell people,
I saw something today, that a quote that said, I would break my heart into pieces to give you those pieces to fix your heart. And I'm going, that does not feel right. It was a very codependent quote, you know.
What was that?
That doesn't help anybody, you
What
know.
was it, Deborah? Would
It
you
was
say
a
that
quote that said, I would break my heart into pieces so that I can piece your heart back together.
Ooh.
I know.
yeah,
I think I've been that quote a couple
I
times.
think I've been that quote before too, but I don't do that anymore.
I was never the
That's no
enabler.
longer my journey. That's
That
no longer
wasn't
my journey.
that was never
Yeah.
part of my journey. I've never had that enabling ever. I watched how badly the results were for both the enabler and the enablee. So that for me, that wasn't it. But believe me, I've got other issues that are fixing.
Oh, no, you don't, Laura. Come on.
I'm just perfect.
You're just perfect. Perfect.
So
is
Debbie, one of the
what you
things that, and you said it already, but I just wanted to, I wrote down, the very first question I wrote down is, how do you get close to the angels? And you just said, you say angels up in the morning. I try to be open and listen and kind of see what's going on. And I feel I'm a very spiritual person, but I do wonder how much I'm blocking, because is it just things I'm doing and saying that I'm following directions without being conscious of it? Or is it more of a conscious thing?
so where I would start is finding out what your clair is. Laura shared hers. She says she's claircognizance, which means she has a knowing inside of her, and she said clairaudience, so she can hear it. So the ones that I listed were seeing, feeling, hearing, knowing, or smelling. And you can have all of them, but there's one dominant one usually that speaks to you. Just by sharing that to you, do you know which one yours is?
Well, what popped to my mind was feeling.
Okay, good, perfect. So then I'm going to talk about the feeling. So then I would say, in part of the Reiki sessions that I do is I introduce them to their higher self through a guided meditation. And their higher self comes in and they merge into their human. And they get to feel who they really are. And so I would say, since you are a feeler, then I would want to answer through the feeling ways that you would feel that you're getting an answer. And some of those feelings could be sweaty palms, your heart's beating fast. People have said they just jump out of their chair and they don't know why in this feeling. a warm sensation like the warm honey I talked about? Has there been a moment in your life where truth hit you and you knew it and there was no denying it, but it was through a feeling? Is there something in your life you can relate to in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I have all my life, I cry in church. I cry when the songs are being sung, and it's a good cry. I get that
Yes.
choked up feeling. A lot of it's in here in my throat chakra. And
Yes.
I just get full body feeling about a lot of things. And yeah.
So I would say invite your angels in, and then because you're feeling, say, will you show me in a feeling way what your specialties are and how your specialties are assisting me, so that I would know what my specialties are, because you're my angel for a reason. And so I must have those gifts too.
And I think it's happened naturally pretty much in my life. So when I'm hearing songs or talking to people, or I see a pretty tree, I'm like, oh, isn't that gorgeous? You know, I'm just very feeling person.
Yeah, they can speak through nature, through
Yeah.
animals. She had mentioned the animal, the hawk, is the highest perspective. So
Wow.
you can look up in Animal Speaks of totem animals and find out what the animal's message is for you when the animal comes.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to really lean into that because I know that's what it is. That's my
Yeah.
job, is to make people feel better. So
Yeah. And so
Debbie, how can there are many of us in this work now to help more people, and you know, what's your idea of connecting? I mean, we're doing it. The four of us are for sure doing it. But do you have some ideas or tips for how people can connect and stay on the higher path, not get into chaos, drama, or whatever, but really stay on a high path of connection and power?
So I had a reoccurring dream, and I wrote it down, and I would like to share it with you. Actually, I didn't know you were going to ask this question, but I knew you were going to ask it without knowing. So here it is. I know speaking it is better than reading it, but I don't want to miss one even little detail of this dream. Okay. So I had a reoccurring dream that has now become a vision, which I witnessed in the making on the night of the goddess full moon gathering. Now we had men and women there, so both men and women were there. I see to my left and right a line of people side by side as far as the eye can see. In this case, it was a circle. Together, we all step forward in a movement. No one is the leader. We all lead, creating the shift no matter where we come from, of all of our diversity. We all have a voice. We all deserve to make it heard. We all have a purpose. Here, gifts, talents, and abilities. I know as we own this, we create it. Empowering world community built on true meaning of equality, where all are considered one people. I believe in peace, love, unity, where we stop all gossip, judgment, comparison, competition, jealousy. I know this vision can be a reality. It's not about me, it's about we, all of us together. I know there is a power and a force greater than myself that I am a part of, and it is also a part of me and in every one of you. So that dream kept coming over and over and over again.
Well, and I do, when we all stick around each other a little more, we're going to have different discussions about those similar kind of stories that are coming to us. And we're kind of at the end of the hour. Laura usually wraps things up with a couple of extra questions, and then I would invite our Facebook buddies to get over to Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an app on your phone. You can't get to it from the computer yet. And so you guys can talk directly to Debbie, and you can tell she's got a lot to say. So Laura, you want to take us?
I'll take us out. Debbie, I'm just so thrilled you joined us today. I've learned a ton from the font of your wisdom. And I guess I would ask for our audience, if you had one piece of advice that you could give them that you think might make the biggest difference in their life based on your own life experiences, which are so deep, if you could share that with us now.
I feel that in the world right now, if we focus on the micro, meaning our individual lives and in our loved ones, and we love them unconditionally, compassionately for who they are, why they're here, then we're changing the macro. And the macro, it will suck you up in a black hole if you start there first. It's kind of like doing a tornado. The eye of the storm is the most peaceful part. And the world is chaotic right now, and including all the collective of the things. So if you absorb that, it will take you out. So focus on yourself, focus on your family, your close friends, your community, and you will create heaven on earth.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you so much, Debbie. And we will see you on Clubhouse in just a few minutes.
Okay, and I might need some instructions.
Debbie, did you get the invitation to the Clubhouse so you know which link to go to, or do you need
It's
it?
on your phone.
I need that, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you right now, and I'll see everybody over
And for
there.
our audience, go to Clubhouse, the app. It's FAC CodPast. So Friday Afternoon Club, CodPast is the name of our Clubhouse. But we'll send you the link, Debbie. And thank you for everything. I wish I could talk to you for hours and hours.
Me
Please
too.
do. Call me.
We will. No,
You
we'll
will,
spend a
yes.
lot of time together in the future, because it's about getting together and celebrating and having fun and getting more done.
See, that gives me all the feelings.
Uh-oh, she's gonna start crying again. She
And
already
I
does.
know it's going to happen.
I'm a crier too.
Oh, I love it.
All right,
Bye,
love you
everybody.
guys.
See you at
Bye-bye.
Clubhouse.
Love you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Trish,
Yeah,
how do I transfer from my computer to there?
let me, I've got to turn this off.
Okay,
So you can't do it on your computer, you have to do it on your
on my phone.
phone. That's the only place to do it. And you are a member, because I looked at it a little while ago. So you're already in there. But on the phone, there's a phone app. Debbie,
Clubhouse.
Yep.
And then
You see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Now where do I go from here?
Okay, now I'm going to start the room and I'm going to share it with you. Okay, just 1 minute.
So I just click on the link.
Uh-oh.
We're still live on Facebook, it looks
Oh,
like.
yeah, we're still like, sorry, Facebook. Okay, stop.